Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Divine Cupid podcast. If you're new, I'm your host, India Watson, and if you're not new, welcome back. Hi guys, welcome back to another podcast episode. Happy New Year's, first and foremost. And second of, I hope you guys honestly had a really good New Year's. Like literally, I don't know. I feel like there's nothing to really emphasize about it. I didn't really set aside like any New Year's resolutions. I didn't really have any New Year's goals. I was like honestly relaxing. Like my vacation was just like relaxing. I got sick. I've been sick for a while. I recorded a couple episodes, but I felt like I sounded so raspy and disgusting that I was like, okay, like we'll just wait till I like feel better. But no, like yeah, not really like super big on the New Year's resolutions. Not really like super grand and large on like the life update. Like really grateful because I've been like trying to like take posting and like stuff more consistently, and that's been like really benefiting me. And like I didn't really like think it I didn't really think it would, but my podcast is reaching like a greater demographic than I ever like really like thought it would, and that makes me really happy. Like I feel like I guess to say like my New Year's resolution that I can like give you right now is to continue to reach a grand and a larger audience, and to have my words have such a deep impact, or for it to resonate with someone that they feel like less alone in their own thoughts, their own feelings, or their own circumstances, and just like bring in a place of comfort and recognition. But ironically, I always like whip out like my podcast setup when I feel like really like deep in thought, or like something in my life has really like kind of like hit me that I feel like, oh my gosh, like I need to talk about it. And this is like genuinely one of those moments. I've been like planning on getting around to like actually like sitting down like recording an episode, but I feel like it's more authentic to be like in the heat of the moment and like in the spur of the emotion, and actually be like, okay, like let's debrief. So in a lot of ways my podcast episodes is like me talking about my feelings to like understand myself, but also me talking about my feelings so that one, I like the documentation. I feel like the documentation is like cool. Like, oh my gosh, like I went through this. I like made an episode about it. I like talked about it, and like boom, I just uploaded it. Like it's really just like a way of like, okay, I'm talking to myself, but like I'm not talking to myself. Like I'm talking to you. Like we're talking to each other. Like we're locked in. I know you guys probably hear like little like weird sounds. It's my cat eating. Okay, let the queen do what she wants because this is her house and her rules, and I'm just her servant basically. Like, so you're gonna hear noises, just ignore it. But in the same breath, my podcast is also like just meant for intention and documentation and recognition of like the fact that I think people just look so like put together, and like I feel like I really consider myself like a put together individual, but sometimes I know like I'm a mess, and I feel like a mess, and like emotionally I just feel like I always have like a lot going on, and like mentally like I'm always thinking, and like during my break like I had 3 weeks off, and like it was the first time where I actually just got to like sit and feel a lot of things that were like going on in my life. And I think I don't really stop and breathe. I'm very open about the feelings that I feel and the things that I'm going through and the things that like I'm experiencing, and I'm transparent, and I'm okay with talking about it, and I journal, and I pray, and I talk to God, and I talk to people, and I talk to myself, and I try to like build a deeper security in myself, and I try to really grow. I try to really change, and I try to really evolve who I am as a person. And I think sometimes like today and more specific, like I sometimes still feel deeply unsatisfied with myself and my life and my circumstances. And I think that's honestly because of my habitual need or desire to just pour into cups that don't pour into mine. My favorite saying and my favorite thing that I've always talked about and on like my podcast, and like I've always wanted to like dedicate a podcast episode to, is like watering dead plants. But today I think I realized like that my favorite plants have died. I've I'm trying to be very like cautious and careful with my words. I'm trying to be very selective because you don't just want to throw out a bunch of things out there that like don't fully equivalate to the magnitude of what it feels like to water a dead plant, and to even realize that the plant that you took so much time like nurturing, caring for, and loving has died. I think I'm a very sentimental person. I know, like, to the people who know me and the people who like have actually experienced me may not have like ever picked that up once in life. Like, I don't really come across like that. I'm not really like, oh my gosh, open with like being super emotional and sensitive to a lot of people in my life, because I think that's like a luxury to really like get to experience about me. It's just like my sensitivity and like how genuinely freaking sensitive like I actually am. And I've lost so many things in life, like friends, relationships, people that I've cared about. I've lost myself in moments that really mattered, and I feel very grounded in who I am today. I spent a lot of time working and journaling to get to a place of like self-fulfillment, to where it's like I have a better sense of security in myself. I've recapped a lot of relationships in my life, like just reflecting over my 2024, my 2025, like who I was, who I am, who I want to become. Like, I've made so many mistakes, and I've been a bad guy, a good guy, and a victim and a villain in so many instances that, I've really like built to be accountable and aware of a lot of things that have gone through in my life, and a lot of things that I can now make the active and conscious decision to prevent. I think it feels sometimes like a slap in the face to myself that I do like this work on who I am and how I am, and I don't know how to really like let things go and let things be what they are. Watering dead plants, and like same thing, but beating the dead horse, I feel like can just be a lot of not knowing how to fully mourn anything without like not being able to fully mourn anything, without like holding on to a tight grip to it as well. And I feel like I sound stupid, like there's like so many concepts that go into this, but like the law of detachment and like a general sense of like when it comes to watering dead plants is like, letting go of things that aren't necessarily yours, not having like the attachment to something. You can care about it, love it, value it, cherish it, enjoy it, feel 10 out of 10 about it, but not have any real like genuine attachment to it. I've held so many genuine attachments to people in my life, relationships, friendships, that I think it's really hard to like let go. And like, you can still be watering a dead plant even though it's not actively in your life. Today I was like trying to like, or I guess yesterday, like trying to reach out to someone that like I really, really had like such a deep connection with. And like, maybe it's me and the fact that I read every situation so deeply, and I try to stay like 10 toes or like 10 steps ahead of like what things are. But I genuinely could read the situation and be like, wow, like, there's me who is actively trying to keep something alive that just isn't there, and me trying to like force a friendship that just isn't being necessarily reciprocated. I think my mom has always told me about like reciprocity. She's always told me about like, oh, I do this for you, and like, you can't be like take, like you have to give something back. And I never really understood like reciprocity, the concept of reciprocation and like mutual desire. Like watering dead plants, having that cup that you're just holding your hand out for someone to fill, is like the epitome of relationships that lack reciprocity. You're giving so much to people in your life. You can care and love and value people so deeply. You can have love that carries you from here to there, but it's such a painful feeling knowing that it's just you that can carry and move mountains in this relationship, that another person is very comfortable just being an accomplice or complacent to, like I think for me personally, people have to go the extra 9 yards for me, because I'm so used to going the extra 9 yards for others. Like I said previously, like I've lost myself in so many situations, and it's genuinely because I've watered so many dead plants in my life. I've put my hands out so people can pour into me while I'm actively pouring into them, and they're just probably dripping, like, like titrations, like when you gotta like drip a little bit, like, you drip the liquid in there. That's like what a lot of my relationships looked like, or not even necessarily felt like, because there are so many times where people can be so fulfilling to you, and it's only when they need something from you. It's only when they have no one else around, or it's only when they're bored. And it's like, you never want to put yourself in a position to be a last choice or a last resort. Like, I think sometimes even building a security of oneself, it's like, I've always been someone who I will sometimes care more about other people than I do about like my own pride and like how a situation makes me feel, because it's like my love sometimes is like so big and grand that like, the idea of being embarrassed or like feeling pathetic about how deeply I actually care doesn't faze me. And through like a lot of like through like just trying to reflect about it, I've tried to be like, I need to be like more of a priority, to where I don't want to feel stupid for how badly like I want reciprocation. Reciprocation is just such a big thing that I think, oh, my eye's itching. We don't necessarily like, I'm gonna give you a really good example, honestly, because I think about this sometimes, and it's like, it's weird. I think we've normalized just being like low maintenance, lame, loser people to other people. We've really like normalized being trash friends. Like, no, I'm so serious. Like, we've normalized being bad friends. We've normalized, people walking all over us. We've normalized people pleasing. We've made these like very common, normal, okay things that you are supposed to tolerate. I've seen so many times like people tolerate toxicity in friendships, poor aspects, like people just not really being fulfilling and like good people to one another just for the sake of having people around. And I'm not gonna lie, I think in today's society and in today's like reality, the idea of being alone and the idea of like not being seen with a bunch of people, we subconsciously believe like that makes us a loser. I was talking to a friend, and like she's going to college soon, and like she was like, yeah, like I can't wait to have like this big friend group, and like, I want to be friends with everybody. And that was something that I had wanted like in middle school, going in high school, like, yes, a big friend group, like. And I've been through the big friend groups. I've been through it all. I've been through a lot of experiences. I've experienced a lot of things to know, like, and me, I've been someone who was friends with everybody and wanted to be friends with everybody. And that literally, I think, not even saying like because I wanted to be this very friendly person, like made me this way, but I was a very messy ass person, like truly, because the saying like a friend to all is a friend to none. You can't be in everybody's face trying to please everybody, trying to do things with everyone, because not everyone gets along. And then it like, I don't know if that concept just made sense in general at all to anybody, but just the idea of overexerting yourself and just, I don't know. So back to just like my original point, we've normalized wanting to have people around and settling for things because we don't want to be alone, and we believe like we have to just tolerate certain things. My like friend group, that I honestly adored this friend group, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm sorry, my cat's making so much noise, but I adored this friend group, honestly. But it really was like not like a give take kind of relationship, but it was like a talking to a wall kind of relationship a lot of the time. I've had a lot of people in my life tell me, which I never really thought about until like I got older, but I've had a lot of people in my life tell me like, I feel like I like you more than you like me. And I've always been like, what are you talking about? Like, we're literally friends. Like, what are you talking about? But that is just like the whole main like focus of reciprocity. Like, I feel like I give so much to you in this relationship, and I don't really feel like you're giving me the same. And a person who's not emotionally intelligent enough, like I was not at the time, cannot fully hear what you're saying and like trying to articulate to them. Like, you can be trying to like pour out and like have someone understand your needs, but if they're not really listening and like they can't really understand like what you're really saying and like the depth of what you're trying to like express to themselves, like you're basically talking to a wall. I had friends where we'd literally be in a group chat and like I'd be the only person that they'd never respond to. Like I would send TikToks, I would text, I would like try to establish plans, and like nobody would really respond. And I would be really irritated because I'd be like, you guys are posting, or like you guys are like talking, but like, you know, I'm getting ignored, and I'm feeling ignored, and I would always feel ignored a lot of the times. And like, you know, I have people like meet me today and they're like, you talk really fast, or you say a lot of things. And I know I talk a lot, and I've always like kind of said like I talk a lot because I sometimes don't feel like you're listening to me. Like I feel like people's attention spans to what I have to say isn't long enough, so I need to like get everything I'm basically trying to say out before you lose interest. Like I've for so long I've subconsciously tried to predict when you're gonna lose interest in what I have to say. So I'm talking as fast as I can so I can get as heard as I possibly can get from people. And that's something that has just stemmed from like childhood. Like, you know, when people are like, oh, like they're listening to you but they're not responding and they're ignoring you. And I hate feeling ignored. I hate being ignored. A lot of things, like it's like, oh, everything is just going in one ear and out the other, or like I'm talking to you and you're like, wait, what did you say, after I just gave you like a whole story, a whole spiel of something. So, you know, just like in that aspect, like just being like reciprocated in conversation, reciprocated in like texting, reciprocated in like friend groups. It's like, yeah, we're friends, and I don't think like, you know, that lack of reciprocation like kind of made us anything less than friends, but you know, it made me feel a little unfulfilled in that friendship and in these relationships, because it's like, okay, you know, I've always said this, like I've always talked about this, but I'm really big on like texting back. I just think it's rude to like ignore someone's text. And I know, like, okay, contradiction, because I sometimes do ignore texts, but I think it's really rude because like I believe like everybody's on their phone, and like I know we've normalized just like, you know, tending to people, like, you know, not everybody having access to us, and like, you know, we've normalized like having boundaries, respecting our own personal time, which is totally fine. Like I totally get that, I totally understand that, but you know, ignoring people for hours on end and then posting and then doing all that, that's trifling as hell. That's so trifling, because I think, you know, it's the same people who like ignore hella people and then be like, yeah, like, damn, I don't have nobody, like nobody checks up on me, nobody wants to talk to me, nobody's like really like texting me anymore. Like I was that person. I remember like in eighth grade I got like, and I know you guys probably think like, damn, you're so like head up your ass in the past. Like, girl, move on, move forward. But I think you need to really like recognize your past in order to go forward in your future. Like, and even in order to understand how you are in your present, you have to really acknowledge the past. So I'm sorry if you feel like, damn, bitch, you get on this podcast and you talk about your past all the damn time. Like, God forbid, I'm just a reflective person. But no, like in eighth grade, I remember I used to be one of those people. I could text you back fast. I'd answer the phone quick. I'd do all the things. And I remember like, I literally remember this so vividly because I think it's just like cornball loser funny of me. But I would literally intentionally ignore people's texts. Like I remember, because Snapchat was that thing back in the day. So I would have like, I would like probably snap you. Oh my gosh. Like this is such like loser shit to do. But I would snap you. I'd probably say, hey. And then you'd say snap me back and say hey back, and I wouldn't respond. Why? I don't know. I'm like, maybe it, and like I know people have that mentality that it's like, okay, like when you, oh my gosh, like the chase and attract thing, like when I pull away, maybe you'll pull closer. And that works for like a lot of people. That works in like a lot of instances of life, but that's such a trash thing to do. I think we've just really normalized being unauthentic individuals, and that's very sad to me. I've normalized being an unauthentic individual in my own life, and that's very sad to me. I've normalized like pouring into cups that aren't pouring into mine, and that's very sad to me, because I hate walking away from things feeling so unfulfilled. I like being like, damn, at least I tried, but I hate feeling like, damn, I wish like it mattered enough to someone else to try just as hard. You know, the constant overexertion of myself can just be very like emotionally draining, and not something that I necessarily personalize, because you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and not everybody's going to want to sip from your cup. Like not everybody's going to really want you to pour into them. Some people are okay with just like not having you around, especially, and I think it sucks the most when it's people who've always had you around and people who've always had you in your life who just wake up one day and it's like, I don't want this anymore. You know, I think this is like honestly like the most vulnerable I've ever really been on my podcast, but I have talked about like how I'm not friends with my best friends anymore, and that to me is not something that phases me. Like I've seen like they're all still friends, like they're both still close. Like we're just not friends. And for a while, that was like a damn feeling because that and those people were friends that I loved. You couldn't tell me any, like, you could be one of those people, like, because I was one of those friends where you could probably, like, talk shit about, like, my friends, like, back in the day before I really, like, stood on business. But you couldn't say anything negative about these people around me without me saying something back. Like, I would be so quick to defend them. I would be, because I just loved them. Like, they were my best friends. Like, of course, I had so much love, so much, like, respect. And, like, now that I'm older, like, we stopped being friends, like, what, 2 years ago? And I understand why, like, we stopped being friends. I feel like people are just in different spaces and different places of their life. And, you know, sometimes you have to, like, see, like, and I don't think I was, like, the best person at the time of my life. And I can give myself as much benefit of the doubt as I want, but, and grace as I want. I never shame myself for anything because you can't grow by hating your experiences and hating what made you the person that you are today. You have to love every negative aspect of yourself and your life. So there's no point of being like, damn, like, oh, I'm such a horrible person for this. Like, no, I'm not. I'm just a human being. Like, you're just a human being. Like, you lived, you went through things, whatever. But losing that, like, relationship, I think was, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Like, looking at it today or, like, seeing, like, okay, like, they're so close. Like, it is kind of like a dang feeling because in my mind I'm like, okay, like, you know, you kind of like see things outside of the perspective and you're like, okay, like there were in a lot of instances like lack of reciprocity and lack of like reciprocation and lack of mutual feeling. And I'm very thankful, which this may sound like really bad, whatever, but I'm really thankful to like not be in that friendship, and I'm really thankful to not be friends. And I'm really thankful because even when you walk out of relationships, I'm really big now on like how people are and act and treat you after the fact. Like after, I think we've really adopted like having like beef with every person that's no longer in our life. And I think that's such a like counterproductive thing to do because at some point these are people in your life that you really loved and these are people in your life that you really cared about. So I think it does no purpose to like all of a sudden have this fixation of hatred and like all this negative emotion that's harbored towards like designated people. I don't think there's any point of that because it's like, you know, to me, if that was like somebody doing that to me, I'd be like, so we're like, was this always like a lingering feeling? Like, did you always have this lingering hate? Like, was this like deep down like animosity built up that, you know, you can finally just like act upon now that we're no longer in cohorts with one another? Or was it always love? And I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I'm some like, excuse me, like some, oh, it's always been love, because it's not always been love in my life. Like people know me. Like I'm not no like peace, love, and light. Oh, no, baby. I don't. Ooh, I have to like crash out a couple times, and then I come to this point. But no, like truly focusing and emphasizing on just like pouring into cups that pour into you. And I'm not even gonna sit up here. I've probably been the one that people are probably trying to like get me to pour in their cup, and I'm not pouring nothing. Like, baby, you ain't getting no liquid out of me. You ain't getting none of that out of me. And I even can acknowledge like the unfulfillment that I've probably felt in some relationships is the same unfulfillment I've probably made other people feel in some relationships. And that's not fair to them. And the same way it's not really fair to me. I definitely try to operate more on honesty of just like what I feel, why I'm feeling it, and like, you know, just being straight up. But just having a lot of like people pleasing tendencies and lack of authenticity towards oneself and like your own genuine like your what your intuition is saying, what your heart is saying, what your feelings are saying. Like, you know, I said I've been able to acknowledge when a relationship and a friendship is not being mutually reciprocated. And I think that sucks so much to be like, wow, like I have to walk away. And I've always said, like, you know, we talk about self-respect, we talk about self-love, we talk about all these things, but It's just really hard to have those things when you have a heart that just wants to choose others. I think it's really hard to choose yourself when you really love something and someone so much. And it's like, wow, like this isn't being reciprocated. It's unfulfilling. And I don't think people deserve to like drain themselves trying to have people around them. I think that's like the whole point of like, not watering dead plants is you don't need to feel exhausted trying to keep people in your life. Relationships, friendships, anything in your life is supposed to cater to you and meet you where you're at in the same way that you're supposed to cater to someone else and meet them where they're at. I think the biggest thing, like one of my last like realizations in life kind of like hit me that I was journaling about is that, and oh my gosh, like when I would get into relationships, like I think I've always said like, oh, your partner's supposed to compliment you and like, but I've realized like I've made a lot of people in my life my home, my center. Like I don't feel comfortable if we're not talking, and I don't feel content if you're upset with me, and like, like little things like that. Like I don't feel good if you're not pouring into me. And I think like you need to have more of a deeper sense of security in yourself, rooted in your own company and your own presence and who you are as a person. You need to know who you are as a person before you get into any friendship or relationship. Like the way that you are with yourself is truly the foundation of how you are with other people. But I've learned that people are supposed to be complementary to what you have going on in your life. If you're not the kind of person who likes to beg and chase, then don't have people in your life who make you feel like you have to beg and chase them to be in their life. Like, you should never, ever have to just constantly exert yourself and burn energy to please someone else. People are not as valuable as they want to put themselves up to be. Everybody wants to be the prize. Everybody wants to be the fucking prize. They want to be worked for and they want to be chased, but they're never willing to really do any real work or, there's no mutual reciprocation. It's just, I want this, but I'm not willing to give anything in return. And you don't want that. You don't want to be the friend that's constantly buying everything. You don't want to be the friend that's constantly driving everybody around. You don't want to be the friend that's always offering gas money, but ain't nobody offering you gas money. You don't want to be the friend that's willing. You don't want to be the friend that's just the walk all over me friend, And you don't even want to be the friend that's like, because I've been in just so many instances. I've been the best friend when I have no boyfriend. I've been the friend when they need like a ride or someone to hang out with or something to do. Like I've had friends like literally, and I think this is like so funny that me and my mom have talked about, but I've had friends who like, I didn't get my license until like July of like my senior year. So like after I graduated, I didn't get my license. And I had a friend which I'm so forever grateful for, because I just think like this is like such a like touching thing. But I had a friend who I lived in the complete opposite direction of her, but would take me home every day, like the second semester of my senior year. And I'm like so touched by that to this day, because I've had friends who I would give rides to. Like I would ask my mom like, oh, like, can I get my friend a ride? Like they don't have a ride home. Like, and it'd be on a consistent basis. And like when they got their license, they would literally probably like drive past me, like knowing I don't have a ride. They'd probably just drive past me and like probably drive fast as hell. Or like if I asked like, oh, like, can I have a ride home? Oh, but you live like on the complete opposite like side of like town. And like having someone who just was like bro, just like reciprocity. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to have people who, one, have good hearts and can do good things without necessarily needing and wanting so much in return, and two, like to just have that mutual like alignment. Like, you don't want to be in the lives of other people and question if they mess with you or not, and if they like you and if they care about you, and being around people who you have to second guess like, damn, like, does this person really like me? Like, you're making jokes and stuff, and all their jokes are just like jabs at you, and you're like, damn, like like, wait, they just said like something rude. Like, you don't want to be in that space. You don't want to be in that lifestyle. You don't want to be in the mind frame. Because, like, you're just really, like, you're staying and you're conditioning people, like, that you're okay with this treatment. And you can speak up as many times as you want. But, like I said, if a person is just not emotionally intelligent, like, receptive enough to understand, like, what you're saying and the depth of how you feel, it's just going in one ear and out the other. Like, I can tell people all the time, like, hey, when I text you, like, you make me feel like I'm really annoying. And, like, you make me feel like you don't want to talk to me. And they be like, no, like, I want to talk. And I, like, wrote in my journal the other day. I was, sorry, my laptop died. But I wrote in my journal. Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. My laptop died. I'm so sorry. But I wrote in my journal the other day how I don't want to be tolerated. I don't want anybody to come into my life and feel like they have to tolerate me. I don't want anyone to feel like that I'm a chore or someone that they are obligated to keep up with. I don't want someone to feel like talking to me is draining for them or something that they feel like they have to do in order to keep me happy. I don't want nothing that's not genuine and authentic and excited to be around me, as happy and as excited as I am to be around them. I don't want to feel like I have to force my way into someone's life in order to matter. And I don't want to feel like people have to feel that way in order to matter in my life. I think reciprocity has become a bigger thing to me than like it ever has been before, because I don't want to keep feeling like I'm in one-sided relationships with my friends, and I don't want to keep feeling like I'm in one-sided relationships with partners, and I don't want to feel like I'm begging you to choose me. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, I've chosen myself. Like, and I'm not trying to be like, oh my gosh, self-love. Like, I choose me. Like, no, but, like, I've chosen myself. And I don't need you to come and feel like you are obligated to give me something when you're obligated to give me absolutely nothing. And I don't need you to pour into my cup. I'm pouring into mine. But I don't want to feel as if I'm some kind of burden or chore or obligatory gesture that makes you feel like you're doing something right and okay, or makes you feel like this relationship or friendship is based off of convenience and courtesy to my feelings. I'm so much bigger than that. I feel like people need to be way more respectful and even true to themselves and their feelings of what they want out of people in their lives, because when you are around people, like when you become an energy taker, I think you forget how to be an energy giver. And then you can't really blame, because like I always believe like what goes around comes around back in life. You can't take the energy of other people and expect that everybody in your life is just going to be fulfilling and pouring around goodness to you. I think sometimes we unintentionally become energy takers, and sometimes we're intentionally energy takers, but it's very crucial and it's very big that we learn to stand 10 toes on our own feelings and know when something is in alignment with us and when it's not. And even then, I just seen a tweet that said like, what's meant to be for you will be for you, and what's not will leave your life. I think we have such a tight grip on the things that are leaving us that we aren't necessarily prepared and ready to have walk out of our lives. We hold on to it tighter. We pour more into it thinking that it's going to flourish and grow. We beg and plead with God, like, God, make the seed grow, make the seed grow, make the seed grow. And nothing changes. Nothing changes because it's like, I'm holding on so tightly to something that has died. Like, it's gone. And I don't think until you can accept that you fucked up the first harvest or the harvest is over, to like you like build the courage to get up and try again and, you know, plant new seeds. New seeds will grow and you will have the biggest flourishing garden if you just let go of the dead weeds in your forest or in your, sorry, I'm like losing my like a little analogy. Like usually I'm really good with analogies too, so today I'm getting a little sleepy. But you don't have to beg people to like choose you. Like you don't have to beg people. You don't have to put your hands out asking people to water you. And you don't have to be the person that is just the overly dependent friend, the overly accessible friend, the one that's paying for everything, the one that's giving all the rides, the friend that the best friend when they break up with their boyfriend, the person that they can always go to. you don't need to be that person. You don't need to be someone who you're there for everybody, but nobody's there for you. You know, you need to put sorry, that made no sense. You need to put a lot more emphasis on yourself and just the value that you bring to other people's lives as well. Because I feel like when we put so much emphasis on, I love having you in my life, like, you're such a great addition to what I have going on, it starts looking more like you are everything I have going on. And I can't feel really good until you are pouring into me. But like I've always said, people are meant to be complementary to what we have going on. They can't be the complete wholeness of who you are. They can't be, that best friend can't be your everything, your rock. That, no, baby, we gotta have a level of self-dependency, a level of self-assurance, a level of, I know when this is fitting for me and when it's not. I know when it's my time to go. I know when the chapter is closed. I know when to let the book be closed, be done, be over. I don't know. You want to have people in your life who are choosing you just as much as you are choosing them. I've never been one to tell someone to love less, to be less, to do less, because even I'm one of those people who I love so much, I love so deeply, that sometimes I do feel like my feelings just aren't reciprocated. Sometimes I do feel like it's easier to just treat people all the same and treat people all very, very lightly, to be very cautious. But why live such a life on eggshells to where now you're scared that every single friendship or relationship may be draining to you, that it leads you to living such an unauthentic life to yourself, to where now you're dealing with everybody less than how you usually would. Be so full of love, be so full of life, do things with such a hopeful, honest, genuine heart, because there are people out there who will really value that in friendship, in relationship, in courtship, in understanding yourself. Like, even you can value from that. I think it's just a crucial thing that we learn when our plants are not bearing nothing but thorns and weeds, and we learn to say, it's pricking my fingers every time I'm around you. Like, I feel like I'm leaving with 100 cuts and 100 burns. Like, it's not a good feeling to be around the friend who makes jabs at you every time like they make a joke. And it's not a good feeling to be around people who feel like it's like, oh, this is the friend whose house we can always be at, and this is the friend, like, you know, like it doesn't feel good to just be the friend who's just for one thing but not for all things, you know. I don't know, you just need to be in spaces where you are actively being chosen and not where you are actively begging people to choose you, because just as much as everybody else wants to be the prize, you are the prize too. Like, you are a valuable person, and you should not let people come into your life and make you feel like you need to prove yourself, prove your worth, prove your value, prove that you're deserving of friendship, prove that you're deserving of mutual respect, prove that you're deserving of reciprocation, because you're deserving and worthy of all of those things. And you shouldn't have to feel like you need to explain to somebody why you are an asset and why you are a good thing and a blessing to have in somebody else's life. Let people go. When those plants feel like they're shriveling up and they're dying, just let it die. Let it go. Let it be gone. You do not have to keep things in your life that actually want to stay. Like, you don't. And I think that's like something really big that I tell myself, like, I don't have to fight so hard for someone who wants to walk away. Like, just walk away. Like, just walk away. It sucks. It hurts. It stings. And it's sad. And it's something that you will just mourn and mourn and mourn until you finally move on and get over it. But it's like, I feel like it's better to just let things be gone and let them exit your life than to silently hate yourself because you're begging someone to stay and you still feel them like slipping away from your grip, even though you're trying really hard to get them to hold on still. You know, you are just so worthy of good things, and you're worthy of someone and people in your life who actively choose you. You're worthy of people who actively respect you. You're worthy of people who are actively pouring into you. The people in your life should bear beautiful fruits just as you should bear beautiful fruits in theirs. It's not so much about being one-sided and focusing so much on what do people bring to the table for me, but also keep yourself in check and keep your heart humble and remind yourself, like, you know, you need to be just as much of an asset. You need to be everything that you demand out of others, you know? You can't be like, I want someone who's full of love and you're full of hate. You can't be like, I want someone who's full of laughter and you're always mad. you can't be like, I want someone who communicates, but you shut down and you don't want to ever hear what somebody else has to say. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to grow. You have to be willing to teach. And you also have to be willing to be taught. It's hard. It's challenging, but it's beautiful knowing that reciprocity is the skill that you're continuously learning, and you're continuously going to go down the path of figuring out how to properly be in reciprocatory relationships, and you're going to learn how to reciprocate good treatment to others. I hate when people say, like, when someone's treating you like shit, you need to treat them like shit back. If someone's treating you like shit, get the hell on. Like, literally. I think, yeah, no, get on. Don't even waste your breath. Don't waste your time. Don't try to snoop down to somebody's level. Karma is not, you are not karma, and karma is not in your hands. Just let it go. And yeah, I don't know. Just like you are someone who is going to find what is meant for you, because it's just going to fall into your lap, and it's not going to be something you had to beg, chase, and fight for. You know, friendships will be something that will thrive and be so much more beautiful and blissful and exciting for you when it's not a friend that you have to beg and explain how to be a good friend. I've been so tired of explaining to people how to treat me as a friend, how to be a good friend, how to do this, how to do that. Just let it go. You'll find someone who knows how to be a good friend to you without you having to tell someone, hey, I don't like when you do this all the time, every day, every single day, all the time. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to explain to someone. And it gets to a point where I'd be like, damn, like, we're grown as hell, and like, I have to explain to you how not to be sneaky and lying and all of these things. Like, no. People know how they are. People know how they're treating you. Stop making excuses for people. Stop giving people the benefit of the doubt in places they don't deserve it. Use practical judgment and be wise about who you have in your life and who invite in your spaces, and treat yourself with the utmost respect, because like I said, you are just such a valuable person and you deserve such good things. So stop letting people come into your life and tell you that you need to prove that you are deserving of something good. And just know that in your heart and in your soul, good things will befall upon you, because you deserve good things. Don't let someone tell you, no, you don't deserve this, because you deserve everything. Anything you've ever wanted is yours. Like, if you want it, you will have it. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So, and that, without that all being said, choose love. Truly, like, choose love. Like, choose to love your life, and choose to love who you love. Choose to love who you allow in your life, and choose to love the love in your life. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope to, make a new podcast episode soon. I love you guys so much, and I will see you soon. Good night.